Hey there, welcome back to Reddit XO, the best channel for Reddit cheating stories. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more stories like these. Now, let's get in the video. Me, 27 female, with my husband, 26 male of 4 years. I'm lying to him about cheating. My spouse has a fetish, which I just discovered. When we first met, that was fantastic, the finest I'd ever had, and I told him so, believing he'd appreciate the sincere remark. I was the more experienced of the two of us, and we both knew it, so I reasoned that this positive reinforcement would be beneficial. It seemed to do so at the time, but in light of the latest disclosure, I am rethinking that. There were no significant issues in our relationship outside of the bedroom, and there wasn't much of a problem there. Our intensity faded after a time, but I was never dissatisfied, and I assumed he felt the same way. Recently, though, he's been strangely inattentive, and I could tell he wasn't really getting off, despite the fact that he always attended to my demands. He first claimed to be weary, but that explanation rapidly fell apart. We eventually set aside some time to have a lengthy chat about the subject, albeit he pretended that he was just doing it for my benefit. He attempted to play it all off, but I could tell he was concealing something. I probed him, and he admitted to having a fetish. At first, I didn't comprehend what he was saying and believed he was accusing me of adultery. I automatically assured him that I had never cheated, and he told me that he knew, but had simply gotten carried away with the concept. I wasn't sure what to think once he described things more thoroughly. I think I was a little freaked out, despite my best efforts to hide it. It's a kink I don't understand. I try to put myself in his place, but the thought of him and another woman makes me nauseous, so I still don't understand his desire and the opposite. But since I adore him, the conversation shifted to how we might integrate this into our bedroom to better fulfill him. Now that it was all out in the open, he was quite excited and soon proposed we arrange something up, with him getting a buddy to me in front of him. That notion was instantly rejected by me. I couldn't get beyond the fetish's basic existence. I didn't like the notion of him having with someone else, and the thought of me doing it was only marginally less repulsive. Doing so with someone we both knew while my spouse looked on was utterly out of the question. Next, he recommended I tell about experiences I had with some of my prior lovers, and he questioned whether I was being really honest about my past comparisons. Maybe I should have simply lied then, but instead I immediately convinced him that he was my most gratifying and emotional relationship. I didn't sure what to think when he seemed a little disappointed. He didn't question me for a second. We eventually came to an agreement that I would have a one-night stand with a stranger. I wasn't pleased, but I could see how delighted he was about the possibility. He improved dramatically immediately after our conversation. For a while, I thought that this dream would be enough to make him forget about really doing it. He didn't, though, and continued bringing it up inconspicuously till the night arrived. I dressed up in ways I hadn't done in years, and my husband couldn't stop smiling as he walked out the door. I then proceeded to a nearby pub where I was unlikely to stumble across someone either of us knew. I was nauseous the whole way, and when I arrived to the pub, I simply began drinking, feeling awful about what I was doing. Guys hit on me, which would have been flattering in any other situation, but now it only made me feel worse. I scarcely said anything to any of them, and soon they got the point, leaving me alone to drink and drink. I'm not sure whether I had any ambitions of picking up a man that night, but if I did, they didn't last long. I couldn't even pretend that I was going to follow through on this. At this time, I was really inebriated and didn't want to face my spouse. I took a cab to a girlfriend's house and practically requested that I pass asleep on the sofa. Given how I was dressed and how intoxicated I'd been, I could tell she had a lot of questions the following morning. She plainly assumed I was experiencing problems with my husband, but I had no intention of giving her the specifics, so she was kind enough to leave it at that. I went home to my spouse, unsure if I should tell him everything or simply pretend I'd done it. The truth is, he was ecstatic with what he believed had occurred. I had the best of my life, and he appeared to have the same. I'd done some research, so instead of my normal flattery, I criticized him this time. I hesitantly compared him to the non-existent other person at first, and that really got him into it. Our problems in the bedroom were gone. I could have lived with myself if that was all there was to it. I wasn't thrilled about lying to my spouse, but it seemed reasonable given the circumstances. He's been implying that he'd want me to have another night out since. It shouldn't be a problem now that I've done it before. If I do it again, though, I know I have no intention of following through with it. I had fooled myself the first time into believing I'd do it for him. If it happens again, I'll probably go drunk at a girlfriend's house with the purpose of lying to him in the morning. I have no intention of discussing this with anybody I know, which is why I'm shouting on the internet. My genuine quandary is that, in comparison, I'm not too worried about lying to my spouse again, and this disturbs me. I've always been entirely honest with him, and I feel he has been the same with me, save from his sudden disclosure of this obsession. The point is, this doesn't seem to be a significant untruth to me. I'm not cheating on him. He simply believes I'm and gets excited about it. I don't need to cheat for his dream to work, and it's safer for both of us if I don't have anonymous with strangers. The only difficulty with my proposed course of action is that it entails lying my husband. Story 2. Accidentally catfished my husband and he fell for it. So I have many Instagram accounts, including a phony profile for stalking, PLZ no judgment. Tonight I accidentally commented to my husband's Instagram story from the false page. I really believed I was on my own page. He had a wedding gig and I was remarking on the location. His answer was weirdly flirtatious, and after a few messages back and forth, I realized we were chatting via the bogus page. I messaged him at that time, wondering whether he knew who he was talking to. He said no, but he's trying to see. Remember, he doesn't even follow this people page. I had a feeling he knew it was me, but I still wanted to play with him to see how far this might go. So I flirted back, told him to come visit me, and he gave me his phone number, so I started messaging. I texted him from my work phone. I provided him my address so that we could meet. I have a friend out of town, so I gave her address, and I'm stressing out the entire time, expecting for him to tell me to stop playing. Instead, he messages me that he's going bar hopping with his pals after the concert. Meanwhile, he's on his way to this person's home, which is my friend's address, and I'm fairly sure he's been there before, so I'm still going with it since there's no way he could be this slow. How could he not realize it was me? He's aware of my phony page. And then he's just spoken to this bogus website for 2/3 hours, has only seen one image, and we've been married for 5 years? There have never been any controversies involving cheating or infidelity. But alas and behold, he shows up to the home, calls and messages many times to say he's outside. After about 20 minutes of waiting, he phones the real me to say he's weary and won't be going out any longer, and that he's on his way home. When he arrives home, he acts normal. So I'm wondering whether he was really interested in meeting this mysterious lady. I'm absolutely taken aback. So, while he's in the home, I text him from my work phone, apologizing for not replying earlier, making some nonsense reason, but inviting him to come back if he was down. And this MF comes to me and says he still wants to go hang out. He hasn't been out or seen his buddies in a long time, so he believes he should go. As he's getting ready, I text, as the female, that it's better if he comes the following night, and he agrees. I searched his pockets and vehicle for condoms or purchase receipts, but there were none. I had a buddy email me the ring footage, and he was really present. So humiliating. I'm simply perplexed, since I never anticipated this from him. I feel terrible for causing this scenario, and confronting him about it would be ridiculous. I wouldn't even know how to approach him since I've never been cheated on. But he actually went to the residence of a random Instagram girl. I feel terrible, unhappy, and angry. As if I can't trust him. How can I get beyond this? Edit for future reference. We married at the age of 21 after dating for 6 months. We are now both 26.